Circle back or fight me?
Did you even read my email, bro?
No, that's above my pay grade.
This is not a drill.
Need unfiltered stories and advice about balancing work, life, and everything in between?
We're here to help. Welcome to Girls That Excel, your virtual support system to keep you excelling no matter what your path to success may be. It's Alyssa
And Emily, and today we are joined by our newest addition and friend of the pod, Annah, to chat about summer jobs that changed our lives. Welcome, Annah.
Welcome.
Yay, I'm so happy to be here. Just a little intro on me. I am a girl that excels in the healthcare sphere. I work in the admin side of healthcare. I've been doing that for my entire adult life. I absolutely love it. And I used to also host a podcast, Chronically Chill, which is all about chronic illness. So I have that fun crossover of chronic illness in the workplace and all that good stuff.
Which is so important to talk about because a lot of people, not just Americans, but people all around the world face various different chronic illnesses. And I think it's something that just like our culture is like toughen up and just get back to work. And they don't necessarily acknowledge that everybody's get back to work can look a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of hard because I'm like an ambitious gal. So I will always be working. Sometimes I have multiple jobs at a time. And so,
Relatable.
yeah, literally. And so I can see people see me from the outside and like, oh, like she must not be so sick because she works all the time. But that's how I channel my energy.
Through.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are going to do our clocking question. So like you clock into work, we clock into the podcast.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right. Are you ready? Our clocking question is, if you could have any job this summer that you wanted and the income and pay did not matter, what would it be and why? Like you could survive like on this income, even if it's like $4 an hour.
Wow, that is such a good question. So what's really interesting about me, I'm a Libra sun, but I'm a Capricorn moon and rising. So I love to work, but I want to do every job ever.
Same girl.
Okay.
So I'm like, I have always really, really, really wanted to be a cart girl on a golf course.
Yes. Making like the little drinks.
Yeah, and like you're outside all the time and you're driving around, you make really good tips.
Cute golf
income doesn't
skirts.
matter. Yeah, but like golf outfits are fun.
Yeah.
And you get to bartend and like I think it would be really fun to like if I'm like, okay, I could do that and like still make my income survive off of it. That would be a really fun summer
Dude,
job.
cart girls make money because of tips.
Yes.
I like it.
What about you, Alyssa? What's a summer job?
I work at Trader Joe's. I've always wanted to work at Trader Joe's. Like you guys, like I don't think you understand. Like when I like retire, I'm gonna work at Trader Joe's because they're always happy, and I've always wanted to be a cash register person.
Okay, that's definitely not my retirement plan. So
That's my retirement plan, and I'm really excited about it.
love to work on a boat. Like I would love to be on below deck kind of vibe. Like I want to work on a mega yacht. I would love to be a stewardess or something like that. But yeah, I would love to work on a boat. I think that would be really fun. Be able to travel around the world and like, I don't know, you're on the water. And of course I'm going to be happy. That's my retirement plan is I want to be like, own a catamaran and like take people around charters and stuff.
You want to be the golf cart girl, but on a yacht.
Of the ocean.
the ocean.
Okay, noted.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. I'll serve you your drink like while we're looking at the sunset cruise. Yeah.
Yes.
I love this. Okay, I'm sold. I still want to work at Trader Joe's, but I'm going to come on your yacht.
Yeah.
You can have plenty of crossover.
On my PTO.
So this topic, we really wanted to talk about summer jobs, particularly because all of our listeners, if you're a younger listener, you might be in college and you might want to have like a fun summer job in between your semesters. And what's going to actually help you with your career and what's just something super fun that's going to shape your life. And I think it's really important to have these fundamental experiences when you're, younger and you have the bandwidth to do so, and you're not necessarily worried about making all the bills. Yeah, so we're going to just talk about summer jobs and how they changed our lives. So, first question is why are summer jobs important to the young college folks?
I mean, I always, like, when I was in college, like, I felt that summer jobs were really important. Like, one is like a resume builder. Because like it was something I could add to my resume of like, I did this to go get a different job. But it also, like, one of the jobs that I took in college was an internship, and I actually got college credit. And so I could transfer the credit back in. So like while I was getting paid for my summer job, I also got like a whole class credit for like doing this internship. And like, yes, there was like homework I had to do, but you know, I was able to graduate early because I did classes like that and stuff, like doing things like that. So I think there's like, yes, like build your resume, get career building skills, but also there's ways to like help you in your actual schooling with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think like when I was in school, when I was in my first, I went to 2 schools before I dropped out, one for each year. And the first year I was in school, it was like I have to work in the summer because my first school I went to such a small town that like it was impossible to kind of work in my college town. You had to be like on it if you wanted to get a job there. But then my second summer in college that I ended up getting a job, it was all because I was paying for pretty much everything myself, like my rent, my food, all of that. I didn't have my like parental support to do that. So the summer was the time to like work and work and work and work and like bust my ass. And then once, oh, can I cuss on here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that when school rolled around again, I had all that banked up so that I could pay my rent and do
Focus on
whatever.
school.
Yeah, and focus on school. And like maybe I'd pick up a job during the school year, but like a bulk of that money came from working over the summer.
Yeah, I think that's really common with a lot of like college jobs, is that you work really, really hard during the summer so that you can play hard during the school year, but also focus on school a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of it.
So I guess we should probably go like, what was our first ever summer job? Like if you guys can recall, like it could even be like back in high school when you were like a lifeguard or something.
Are we
like
saying
that.
like first like kind of official summer job that was more like of a full-time gig, or like summer camp counselor situation?
Summer camp counselor can count if you're getting like a paycheck and stuff from it, but like
Okay.
I don't think babysitter counts, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair. My first one was like full-time gymnastics coach. And I taught gymnastics and ran camps and taught classes and did birthday parties at a gymnastics gym.
Wow.
Yeah. But then my second one was like the summer after, I went to a startup accelerator and I did like an internship there. Very, very drastic shift.
Very different summer jobs.
Yes.
Did a dog like kennel place, but they had like some rescues, but it was pretty much like a doggy daycare. And I worked there for like back when I was in high school.
That
during the
sounds so
summer.
fun.
Cute.
Yeah.
That's
Does it do
a
with the
really
dogs?
perfect first job, I feel like.
I love that.
It was really great. I mean, obviously you're like cleaning up pee and poop all day long and you're just like taking care of dogs, but
That's the same thing as babysitting though.
Yeah.
you could also like work the night shift sometimes. Like I got my parent to sign off on that, and like you are there by yourself, which is a little creepy because it was like downtown Nashville, but you can have any dog sleep with you like in the bed, and so you get to like so there was one dog
I'm gonna
that
cry.
yeah, there was one dog that was like not allowed to be with the other dogs. So if you picked that dog, like that's the only dog. And then some, you could like have 20 dogs in your room. But I would often just pick that one dog because he was like in his cradle day. And so
She
like
heard you talking about dogs.
but yeah, he was in his cradle day, isolated from everybody. So I was just like, he has to sleep with me.
Oh, he needs some love.
He
That's
needs love.
cute.
Yeah.
My first summer job was I worked at Kohl's. So I
Ooh,
like
Cole's Cash.
Okay.
Right,
That's
right.
what I thought of too.
I ran the women's department. It was very interesting because I was absolutely the youngest person working there. And I started
makes
working there
sense.
in high school. Yeah. And like I did cheer in high school, so I could only work during the summer. That's the only time I didn't have cheer. And so I worked there in between my junior and senior year and then my senior year before I went to college. And yeah, I was the youngest person who worked there, but it was very interesting to me being the youngest person that worked there. And also, like, they put me in the hardest department because I was like a really hard worker. And like, all these people are like 5 years older than me and like live in apartments by themselves. And like, they could not care less about work at all. And so I was just like working so hard as a little
Confused.
high schooler. But I loved it because, you know, you got really good discounts, A. But I think it's funny because I feel like everyone's like first job is either like clothes or like food, at least where I went to high school. And then that's like the track you take. And so I went retail, which I loved.
100% that's true. Like my very first job was restaurants. So it's
Yeah.
like food or clothes. That's like a great entry jobs.
But I feel like it is a really good entry job because it teaches you, because they're both customer facing, it
Mhm.
teaches you how to deal with people who are frustrated, like people who are hungry, like people who like think you're kind of below them because you're serving them in some sort of way. And so it teaches you how to like be patient and respond to them in a calm, cool, and collected manner. And so I think that like both of those positions are like key to anyone starting like their career, you know, like having a ton of job in high school is crucial to like figuring out how to communicate with people that you may not know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think too, especially with like high school jobs, like having a summer job is really important because like one, it like shows like colleges that like you're ambitious, like especially if like you want to go to college and you're trying to get into like, you know, more competitive universities. It shows like you have drive, ambition. It can also show like you're interested in certain things. So like having certain summer jobs, especially when you're in not just college, is really important too, to like build up your like application. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are things when you're looking for a job that you would say are the right fit for you? Like that's like looking at income, the skills, what you could gain, what you have, and like
I think that's a really hard question to answer because it's going to really be dependent on your current life, like what's going on. Like the
Yeah.
jobs I took when I was in my early 20s, like I had I always call them my summer jobs were always my little side quest because I started working like a big girl job when I was 18. I was actually a licensed mortgage originator. But then during summers, I would kind of like take some time off and I would go do my little side quest. And so one time I was a camp director for a camp in
So cute.
Ohio. And it was primarily for lower income families. And a lot of the kids experienced a lot of like abuse and neglect, unfortunately. And so this was kind of the system, you know, the government would send these kids during the summer to the summer camp. And it was kind of like one of their first sense of normalcy of like being a kid. And that was a really intense job. And so I think it just depends on what stage in your life you were at. Because when I took that job, I was making absolutely nothing, but I got to like live no rent for like 6 months on a camp out in Ohio. And I like learned so much about myself and life that like it didn't matter that they paid me 2 peanuts and a handshake. Like it was one of the best experiences I ever had.
Yeah, and I
I
think
love
that a lot of like the summer jobs that I took on, or like when I was early doing that, I feel like I was like, okay, what is this job I'm going to work and that's going to also benefit me? So like when I worked at Kohl's, I got an employee discount. Or like another summer job I did is I was a executive assistant at a gym. And so I got a free gym membership and then I got like a free +1 gym membership. So I feel like when I was in that headspace of like my summer jobs when I was younger, I was like, I want to work a job that I like and that has more benefits that benefited me at the time. Like now the benefits I care about are like retirement and health insurance. But when I was a kid,
Me
the
too,
things
girl. Me
I
too.
care. Right. But I was like, where am I going to get a discount? Where am I going to get free stuff? Well, like, who gives me the best like perks is like what I looked for.
Low key, I
Agreed.
was eating at Chipotle like all the time. So I just got a job at Chipotle because I was like, I'm
Exactly.
eating here every day.
Right.
And I have a shitty waitress job down the street. Might as well have this shitty Chipotle job.
Exactly.
It's funny. Well, I really think that like it does depend on your stage of life. Like I mean, Anna, like I totally relate to you. Like one summer, like I was taking a medical terminology class so that I could graduate early from school. And so I was like, well, like I need a job that I'll make a bunch of money but doesn't take all of my time so that I can study and like pass this class. And so I took a job working at a brunch place a couple of days a week. And then the other days I worked as a childcare person for Bar 3 so that I could get a free gym membership
See,
and
exactly.
take classes for free all summer because it was like $200 and something a month. And I was like, okay, well, they pay me $15 an hour. I mean, this was like 10 years ago, but I was like, it's $15 an hour and I get a free membership. Like, sold. So, and I had enough time to study and I passed the class. So I think it just kind of also depends like what stage of life are you in? Like right now, like summer jobs, like we would never leave our jobs to like have a summer job. But like,
Right.
I
you
don't
know.
know. At the same time, like I recently got offered to pour at wine at a place and like for the summer, and I might pick it up, not just because it's like a little bit of pocket money. And do I need that money? No. But I kind
It's
of want the
fun.
discount on wine and like I
Yeah.
would get to work with a friend. So even though I'm 30, I think I still would be open to taking a summer job if it fit within my current like actual professional schedule. And that's harder to come by.
Absolutely. When I was working in wine, that was my adult summer job that I was working on top of my regular job. And there is so much benefits to working in wine. I got
Yeah.
free bottles all the time. You know, that was all wonderful and
You
great.
get sent home with the opens.
Yes, they're like, we can't pour
Yeah.
these anymore, and like half the bottles left. I'm like, sweet, great. But yeah, like, but it is hard to come by things that work with your schedule. And like, I was so lucky with my summer job that I took on as an adult that like I worked the weekend, but like my shifts weren't really longer than like 5 hours. So it's like I didn't take up my whole weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a fun question. Okay. So there's like a silly one or a spicy one. What do you guys want?
Let's do both. Start with silly and then go spicy.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most embarrassing thing that happened to you during a summer job?
I got this. Okay. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I should say this on here. I got a phone call from my wax girl and I was carrying something and my guy colleague picked it up and answered it. And she was like, oh, we have a different appointment for you or something. And he was like, what? And I was like, oh, like, here, take this. And I had to take the phone from him to talk to the wax girl. And like, I hang up and later, like, literally an hour later, he goes, so like, why was your wax girl calling you? And I was like, this is really awkward. And we were like in college at the time. So like young and dumb in the working world. But I was just like, nothing.
My eyebrows.
I was like, please don't look at me. It was so uncomfortable because I also had a crush on him.
No.
So it was so bad.
Not the
It
work
was so bad.
crush.
I know. Ruined it.
Oh, I think so one of my summer jobs that I did is I worked in the bridal industry. I worked at David's Bridal. And
Fun.
yeah, RIP, they're not really around anymore, but this is like, I mean, I was coming from a good place, so it is embarrassing in hindsight, but like you know, but I was helping a bride get into a dress and she had like these bruises all over her back, and like the stylist gets in the room with you, helps you like zip up and all this stuff. And I'm like a baby. I'm like 18, 19 years old. And I'm like, are you like you can trust me. Are you okay? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And she like breaks out in laughter and she's like, oh girl, I just got like cupping done on my back. I'm totally good. I was like, oh, okay. Like in hindsight, it was like, I was really embarrassed at the time, but like me looking back on it as like a 27-year-old, I'm like, oh, she was so earnest and she just really cared about her.
I had cupping done once and I didn't get any bruises and I was mad about it.
I bruised so
But
bad
it was
the
like,
one
I
time
was
did
here
it.
for the bruises.
It was right around the time that Michael Phelps was like doing all of the cupping and it was becoming really
It was
popular.
like really cool.
And so I was like, I want to look like Michael Phelps.
And you didn't even.
I didn't even. I was like, put him
That's
on
so
harder
funny.
next time. So I don't know. I can think of a couple like really embarrassing moments, like mostly at the summer camp, because we would have to sometimes dress up as characters. And because we would have these themed weeks, and each week was like a different, like, this week's going to be Disney and blah, blah, blah. And we had like a superhero Marvel week. And it was also one of the hottest weeks. And I dressed up as, I don't even know her name. She's like all blue. She played by Scarlett Johansson. Do you know who I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Oh, it's like
I'm not helpful here.
Phantasma or something.
Mystique? Is it
Mystique. It is Mystique.
Yes,
It's Mystique.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I was dressed up as Mystique, and I had like literally painted my entire face, my legs, I painted my whole body blue. But it was so hot. And so I'm dripping just blue paint just coming off of me everywhere. It looks like I terrified the children because I was just
No.
look like the swamp monster, like, hi children. Like it definitely did not go the way I was
no.
intending.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's
So-
wild.
Yeah, I had to play a lot of characters and I had dressed up so much that summer. It was quite quite the thing.
I love that.
All right, so here's kind of the spicy one, which did you have a work crush, a summer crush?
I already admitted to this.
I know. You took the thunder
already
away,
admitted to that.
honestly.
Oh, I have to think. Well, it's hard because a lot of my jobs, like when I was an executive assistant, everyone was old. Like I was the old, and I worked at David's Bridal, which was all girls, which I am a queer community girl, but at the time I did not know that. So yeah, I don't actually know if I've ever had a work crush. I've had one when I was in college, and but then I just got to know him more, and then I wasn't interested anymore. Yes,
It
I don't
always goes
know.
that way.
I've had a lot of people who crush on me, and then I have to be
believe that.
like, leave me alone. But I don't know if I've ever had like a true work like flirtationship,
In my last job, I had a crush on a customer.
Mm.
And I always thought he was so cute. And every time I saw him, I just was like, oh my gosh, you're so hot. But I mean, obviously nothing ever happened because that would be really unprofessional. But I always thought it in my head. I still run into him every once in a while because like he lives in the area. But
Oh no.
but I'm always like, hi, swooning.
So one of the summer jobs I had, there was like an IT tech guy who like did all of the sound and production and stuff. And I had like the biggest crush on him. And then I found out like partway through the summer that he had a really big crush on me. And so we ended up
Ooh la
having like
la.
it was like at the very tail end. We only ended up going on a couple of dates, but because like summer was about to end at that point, and it was kind of like if you wait too long, it's like we tried and then it didn't really happen. But it was really fun. It was like this flirtation back and forth for like the whole summer, and then kind of midway through finding out like, oh no, it's actually a thing. And then it was
Not all
really
in your
cute.
head. Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
cute.
I love it. I love it.
All right.
One of my questions that I had was there a job that helped you get to where you are now or showed you that you weren't on the right path and made you think about pivoting?
Oh, for sure. So I went to school originally for neuroscience psychology, and I wanted to study the brain and specifically do like schizophrenia research. And I worked one summer. So I came back from the kid camp job, and I started working at an HIV clinic, and I really loved that. I did Ryan White eligibility, and so I got people that were in lower income areas. I got them signed up for benefits, which helped with their, HIV and, resources that they needed. We lost funding for my role. So then I took kind of like a summer job, which was at a mental health facility. And it was kind of like a halfway house. And I was a little bit of like a camp counselor for this like midway mental health facility. It's like not fully, like they had the ability to leave during the day, but then they were, like in this house learning, skills and coping skills during the day, or during the evening. So at that job, it was really, really intense, and I got to see kind of like the darker spots of like working in the mental health field, and to the point like my physical health was threatened multiple times. So it got to a point where it's like I realized that I don't think I was really wanting that as a career. Like I just didn't have that drive or passion. And it led to me actually like totally pivoting my career.
Dang. That's
Yeah.
so, like, if that never happened, you probably would have followed through with what your original plan was, which, like, that's just...
Yeah. I mean, I loved, and I still love, like, I think I'm just a natural researcher in my heart. Like, I love to, like, figure out how things are made. Like, even down to, like, I was trying to figure out how rocks are made the other day, and I went out...
These freaking rocks, man.
I went, like, down a deep rabbit hole and, like, learned everything I could about rocks. So it's, like, I think I'm just a researcher in my heart of hearts, but... yeah, I would have definitely been working a job I probably didn't like.
Yeah, that's very true. For me, when I was an executive assistant at a gym, I felt like that was like my first like actual big girl job, even though it was just a summer job, because I was like 9 to 5 full time versus like a weird like you're working closing or opening full time. And this is my first and only job that I've ever been put on a performance plan. And I was really like, I was so hard on myself because how I work is very important to me. Like I put a lot of value into it. And I was like working so hard, and I was working extra hours like off the clock because I'm like, well, like this is my own fault that like I can't keep up with the demand of this position. And right towards the end of the summer, I found out that the role that I had taken previously was actually split between 2 people, and I didn't know that when I took on my role. And so like I felt like I was just failing and failing and failing. And then like I was put on this performance plan. I'm like, wow, I really am failing. But then I was like, wait, I'm not failing. I'm doing 2 people's job. I've been expected to do 2 people's job. And like, this is a 2 people's job. Like I cannot get it all done. But I was being punished for like not being able to do the work that 2 people were doing previously and I didn't know about. And so I feel like that kind of changed my like mental like aspect on work of like, I need to be vocal when it's too much. And just because I feel like it's too much doesn't mean it's like a moral failing of me and like I'm not bad at my job just because things are too much. Because if I would have reached out and been like, this is too much, instead of saying, oh, it's fine, like I'll get it done, then we could have like maybe figured out a better solution. But instead I just kind of let myself fall in that hole and then like get a performance plan, which just like killed me at the time. But I think I learned so much from that. Of like, you got to speak up when it's too much.
Oh, absolutely. That's
Completely
really
agree.
good lesson to learn.
You need to be able to advocate for what you need and like what works for you. Otherwise, you're gonna burn out and you're not gonna do well. It just sets you up
yes.
to fail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever gotten fired or dramatically quit a job before?
Yeah.
I've like suddenly quit a job before.
Yeah.
But I've never been fired though.
I've been fired before. One job was like right before COVID, and I got hired to be reporting to someone who was out on maternity leave. And they hired me, and the woman came back from maternity leave and basically had a hissy fit that they hired someone who would report to her without her input. And so, like, I got let go, like, because they were like, well, like, we sat down in this room. They're like, well, you're behind on your work. And I was like, well, actually, like, I finished everything you asked me to do. Like, I can give it to you right now. Like, it's on my computer. And they were like, oh, and I was like, yeah. And it was like really awkward. And the like person like walked me out. She was like, oh, like, if you ever need like a letter of recommendation, like, I'd be happy to help you. I just don't know if you understood how startup businesses worked. And I was like, hold on. I was like, actually, I'm really okay. My dad had a very successful startup. I really don't need any of your help. And she immediately like freaked out because she was like, oh, this girl might sue us. And I was just kind of like, I'm really good, but thank you so much. Here's your parking pass. Have a great life. And I just left. And they still sometimes check on my LinkedIn. It was great. That was my like dramatic firing that like wasn't really that dramatic. I just left very professionally.
Nice. Mine was I was moving back to Portland because during the pandemic I moved to Spokane for a year, didn't like it, so I moved back. And when I was living in Spokane, I was working at the VA. And to move, I just transferred to the VA here in Portland. And it wasn't like ideal, but I'm like, I just need a job. I just got to get myself there. And so I moved to Portland, had posted on Facebook, if anyone knows of any like remote work, please let me know. I had a friend reach out and she's like, oh, like actually my office is hiring for remote. And so I did the interviews and everything and I got offered the job and she's like, when can you start? And I was like, Monday. And so because like in my new job, I was still in training. And so I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to put in my 2 weeks notice and then be training for those 2 weeks. That's a waste of everyone's time. And so I accepted I accepted the job offer on a Thursday. Friday, I still went to work. I went through my whole training for that day. And then I like took my badge and my parking pass and everything and put it in a drawer and took a picture of it and sent an email to my new boss. And I was like, I quit. Thanks for everything. Because I'm like, bye. Like, I got to go work remotely full time. So
you literally Irish goodbye'd them.
Yeah, literally. I left the office, didn't say nothing to no one. So
I've quit a couple of jobs. I remember one time, and I truly don't know why I even applied for this job. It was like my friends worked there. But I've never been around kids. Like I've never really changed a diaper. I've never like I don't know how to speak to children. I'm just like, sup, do you got a 401k? Like I've never known how to talk to them.
Yes, they do actually.
And so my friends were all working at a nursery, but like one of the fancy nurseries where all the parents make millions of dollars. And so they hired me and I started. And they put me in a classroom of like a bunch of kids and I had no idea what I was doing. And there was like one other person and it was just super overwhelming. And I was like, fuck them kids. I was like, and so I made it through the day and I went and I was like, I don't think this job's for me. And they were like, okay, don't worry. Tomorrow we'll put you with the infants. That will be better. No. It's way more chiller in there.
And Emily's like, still never changed a diaper.
I still never changed a diaper. And so then they put me in like the infant room. And I didn't even know how to hold a baby. So I was like
a football.
I keep in mind, I'm like 19 years old at best.
Right. And
so I'm like terrified. And then they're like, okay, we'll put you in the baby room with special needs. They were like really trying. They kept moving me around.
They really wanted you to stay.
They really did.
They were really like, Emily, you can't leave.
And so after the end of the second day, I was like, you guys have made a mistake. Please let me go.
Set me free.
Set me free. I was like, I cannot do this. I don't know how to care for children. So I quit that job. And I've never been so scared at a job before. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do.
Kids are terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like, kids are terrifying. Mm-hmm. Actually, guys, my first job ever was being a mother's helper when I was 10 to my next door neighbor to a baby. But I didn't have to do diapers because I was only a mother's helper. And I got paid $5 an hour.
Very cute.
Yeah, like I had babysat before, but like they weren't children. They weren't like in
do you-
diapers.
How are you classifying children?
Like they were like kids,
Like
you know?
self-sufficient. They can play on their
Self-sufficient.
own.
Okay.
Like they're not shitting themselves. And so like that's kind of my threshold. Once you get past like I don't know, like 4, I'm great. I'm like
Yeah.
the best. Like I'll play like all the games with you. Even like one of my really close friends, David, he has a son named Caden, and I am like that little dude's best friend. Like I'm always like playing basketball with him or doing something like, and he's about 10 years old. So I'm good with kids. I'm just not good with little kids, if that makes sense.
Emily's like, once they can wipe their own butt, we're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I one time had a pregnancy pack, but sort of, I don't know, with one of my friends where we would have a communal baby, and she would take like the baby years and I would take the middle kid years. And then she would also take the high school years because she was like, I'm better at getting them ready for college. And I was like, fair.
That's my friend Kaylee is the same way. I was like, I love like baby. And then once they turn like 1.5, 2, I'm not interested until they're like 5. And she's like, okay, perfect. She's like, you have them. I'll take them from 2 to 5 and then I'll give them back to you. I was like, okay, perfect.
It works out. You just share the baby.
Yeah.
I love kids, so unless once they can talk, then I'm cool.
Yeah, the communication is always, and also like you were saying, like you were a mother's helper when you were 10. Like, I started babysitting when I was like 10 or 11, and now I look at like 10 or 11-year-olds and I'm like, I was babysitting at that age.
I
Kids,
wasn't like alone
children?
though. Like the mom was like in
alone
the house
at like
I'm
11.
pretty sure that's illegal.
You know what? In the state of Utah, in the great state of Utah, why would they
Nothing's
have
illegal
kids
there.
if they can't not watch each other? You know?
That's true.
Yeah, I
That is
think
true.
it depends on the state. And I also think it depends, like, guys, we're talking about the 90s and early 2000s. There
Yeah,
was
that's true.
way less rules.
That is so true. And we didn't have screens to
Right.
like babysit us.
Right, that's very true.
We played a lot of imagination games.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Chalk, Play-Doh, it all.
Love that stuff still.
What was your biggest, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this moment from a summer job? I can go first and it might jog something for you guys. It was at the summer camp and we had did like a big kayaking trip. And I got to be at like the back, like, because you always need like a couple of adults at the front and a couple of adults at the back. And so I volunteered to be one of the adults at the back. And there's obviously adults intermittently out. And I was like, no, I'm going to be in the back. My best friend at the camp was like, I'll be in the back with you. And so I just like got to paddleboard or a kayak down a river with my best friend, just like talking it up. And I got paid for that. And I was like, I can't believe I just got paid to like have fun.
That is pretty fun. When I was working in wine, as my summer job, I mean, this was only a few years ago, but it was just me and this other coworker, and he was a lot like my brother, so we just really vibed. And we were working not in the tasting room. We were working in like a project that was like in partnership with a chocolate factory. So, but we weren't super busy all the time. We would have like sometimes like a whole hour where no one came into the shop. So there would be times where he'd be like, so do you want to play GeoGuessr? And I was like, sure. And so we would play like GeoGuessr for an hour, or like there was this huge map on the wall and we would guess where seasons of Love Island were filmed for other countries. So he's like, okay, guess where Love Island, blah, 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 filmed their seasons. And we would look at the map and I'm like, here. And he's like, close. And so we would like go over the map and guess. And so like that was really fun that I got paid to just like make a friend. And we're still friends to this day. Like, and
I love that.
that was just so fun that I got paid to do that.
That's so
amazing.
fun.
Yeah.
Mine are all babysitting, only watching Avery, because like some summers, like especially like COVID, like they were country club members. And so we would go to the country club pool and we would get our little cocktails together and we would play at the pool all day at the country club. And I would just literally be like, how am I being paid to do this? And then sometimes my friends would come. And so I'd be sitting at the pool with my friends and this child playing at the pool at a country club. And it was awesome.
Yeah,
It was
you can't
great.
beat that.
You
No,
cannot
that's-
beat that.
Pretty good perks.
They got rid of their membership and I'm really upset about it. Sad.
All right. Well, are there any other fun or funny summer job stories you guys can think of?
Well, this brunch place that I worked at was called Bumble. And so like, you know, whenever you meet people, they're like, oh, like, what are you doing this summer? And I'd be like, oh, like I'm working at a place. I'm working at a place called Bumble, and everyone thought I was talking about the dating app. So like every conversation I had was like, wait, the dating app? And I'd be like, no, like a restaurant kind of thing.
The dating app is pretty cool. It is women owned. And actually one of the owners and creators of the podcast or of Bumble went on one of my favorite comedians podcasts, Elijah Schlesinger, and talked about like how she created it and why she created it. And it was like all about keeping women safe, which I think is pretty cool. So that would have been a great summer job to be an intern.
It would have been.
Honestly, would have loved to be a part of that. Like that would have been really cool.
That would have been cool. I think this always makes me giggle because I'm like thinking back to it. My summer job before I went into my freshman year of college, I was working at Kohl's and they knew I was going to leave. Like, I'm moving away for college. And so I was coming up on my like last couple weeks and they're like, what can we do to get you to stay? And like, it always makes me giggle because I'm like, why were they trying to get me to stay to work at Kohl's? They were like, we'll make you a supervisor. I'm like, A, 18 years old. B, why would I stay instead of going to college? And it always makes me giggle looking back at it. I'm like, why did they think offering that was a normal thing to do?
They just thought you were so good that you wanted to be there forever.
I was like, I don't want to work at Kohl's forever. Sorry.
That's funny. One of the restaurants, one of my very, very first jobs, I worked at this restaurant and I had quit. And he spent like a week trying to convince me to like not quit. But I was like, oh, I got more money. And they're like, we'll give you more money. And I was like, yeah, but I hate this place. And then
triple it.
So they every single year, like during the winter time was like their busiest time. And so every single year for like 5 years after, they would call me up and they would be like, please come back. And I was just like, I love that you guys love me this much, but like I'm never setting foot in that place again.
I love a like, please come back, like a message. I've had jobs that have done that and like, we have an opening if you ever wanted to come back. Like, no, I left there for a reason. If I wanted to stay, I would have stayed.
That's funny because I always would go back when I get those texts. Like
Really?
like I tried to quit that like one of the gymnastics gyms I worked at so many times, and like every time they'd be like, well, could you come in and sub like the front desk or like come sub this, and I'd always be like, okay, fine. And it took until COVID happened and like obviously like everyone was let go because then that way you could get unemployment, for me to like actually like cut ties because like then I was no longer on payroll, like stuff like that, for me to actually leave. And then
Right.
even still they were like, so we're opening a level 2 team and we really think you should coach it. And I was like, and I thought about it.
But you didn't do it.
I have boundary issues, I guess. That's what I'm learning right now.
Okay.
All right. So last question before we clock out. What would you want your future kid to have as their very first summer job? And if you don't want to have kids, that's totally fine. So just like what
Hypothetical kids.
hypothetical your dog, like let's say your dog can get a job.
God, I
but
wish.
yeah,
That girl's expensive.
I wish Bo could get a job. But yeah, like so or it could be like, what job do you think every kid should do for like their very first job or something like that? If you don't want kids, so that's okay too.
I really think food service, like serving people when they're hungry, they get really mean. And I do really think that it's a valuable thing for you to have to sit there and learn how to respond to someone who's being mean to you in a kind and professional way. And that'll serve you in so many aspects of life, especially in the corporate world. I mean, the people in my job every day get upset because things don't arrive on time or, you know, like something doesn't go according to plan, and they have every right to be upset. You know, that happens in sales all the time, and it's on me to stay cool and not get angry back, because that's when things get ugly. And I think that it's a really valuable skill to learn, especially from a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna do the like opposite of that and do retail, which like they're sides of the same coin with customer service. And I really loved working in retail. I feel like it taught me a lot about customer service, and that like people will do whatever they can sometimes to get a discount, and how to like professionally hold boundaries sometimes. I feel like I learned a lot of that in my retail, of being kind, professional, while also being like, you're actually ridiculous for thinking that's going to work. And so I think that would be a great like job for my kids. And then just honestly, like working in retail is fun. There's always drama, always. And same with food service, I will say. And like that's kind of fun when you're like in high school and like you have your little work drama and you get like your discount on stuff. And I think that's always like a perfect fun first job is retail.
I love it. I'm going to lean in an opposite direction of both of you.
I love this. As you should.
I would love for my kid to like be a like lifeguard at like a water park or something
Actually,
like
almost said a lifeguard. That was was between the two. So yes.
I mean, it's really good because you learn basic life-saving stuff.
Basic life-saving, you get a tan, you know CPR.
That's the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they teach you CPR, they teach you basic first aid. You get to be in the sun. It's fun. It's like light hours. It's not crazy hours. But I think it's really important for a kid like to have fun. And I kind of regret like how much I hustled in high school, when I didn't necessarily like realize how low the stakes really were, that I didn't need to be working as hard as I was working at 15, 16, 17, that I could have just been a kid. And I kind of regret not having more fun in those years.
Yeah, I think oh, sorry.
You go. No, you go.
I was just going to say, I think I can completely agree with that, of like, I was hustling so hard because I knew I had to pay for a lot of like my own stuff in college. And that's something that like is really important to me when I have kids, is like, I do want to teach my children the value of hard work, but I don't want them to feel like they have to work overtime and take on extra shifts and like not hang out with their friends and go to the river and stuff like that because they have to worry about not starving in college. And so I think that is super valuable, of like sometimes you just gotta have a job that's fun.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I really want to get to a place where I am able to provide my kids the ability to be privileged. And I know that's a little controversial. Like, I want to teach them hard work, and like, they're my kid. They're going to just have natural born drive in them for excellence. And, but I also just really want them to be fun. I feel like, I was so stressed and so worried about like making ends meet, and like I didn't come from a lot of money. And so there was so much more pressure. And so the ability to provide a different kind of life for somebody, I would love that opportunity for them to just like be a kid and be a lifeguard.
I mean, honestly, I will say I grew up in a community that we had a pool like in the center of the neighborhood. It was a historical neighborhood. And so a lot of my friends when I was a kid were lifeguards, and they made great money, and it taught them so much responsibility. Like, it was actually a really good summer job because like they had a lot of fun. They were doing something important, and like it taught them good responsibility. Like, you're literally responsible for other people's lives. Like, it's actually a really good job a kid in high school to have, because they learn responsibility. So it's a good one that's fun. And like personally, like I've always been that person. I'm not going to take a job that I don't think I'm going to like. There's always a job that you can find where you're going to make good money and you can hustle hard, but you can enjoy. There's so many options out there that, you can always find some fun. Like, I always had fun working in restaurants. Like, everyone was always fun and like fucking around in the kitchen, like everyone was having a good time. Like, I loved it. Like, I would happily go back and work in a restaurant again because it was so fun. Maybe not the one Emily was in.
Not I.
Yeah. But the one I was at was great.
I've worked in so many restaurants, and I just don't think it's worth it. It's not worth smelling like grease when you come home and like all the fights and like barely scraping by. Yeah, I'd work
Gotta
at a
find the right
winery.
one. Wineries are great.
I would always suggest working in a winery. Super great.
It was fun. Great money. It was good.
Great money. Yeah, people are just like drunk and happy.
I never had to kick someone out for being obnoxious. Actually, it happened one time, but that guy came in like belligerent and like it was bad and I didn't have to kick him out. And that was in like the 3 years of working there.
Yeah. More often than not, I had guests be like, take a seat. Like, come hang out with
Yes.
us. Like,
Yes.
those are always, and yes, I did sit because our job allowed for that because wine is excellent customer service because you want people to sign up for memberships and you want to sell bottles. So you get to like do that stuff in your job that you maybe wouldn't get to do in normal food service.
Absolutely. You cannot sit down at someone's table while they're eating a 5-course meal.
Right.
That is frappathon. Can I have a bite of your steak?
All right, should we clock out?
Yes, I think
Let's
we
do it.
should.
All right, you want to read the question?
Yes. What was the favorite summer job that you've ever had in your life?
I'm gonna have to say the summer camp. It was one of the hardest jobs I ever had. And I learned a lot about kindness and showing up for people like in their most vulnerable state. And
I love that.
being able to sit with somebody when, like, especially a kid, when they're having these really big feelings and trying to process them, and they're like running away and they're hitting everybody, and like they're kind of deemed this like out of control kid. And being able to have that turnaround moment in the summer where you're able to like sit down with them and just like connect person to person. And like then they start just having fun and being a kid. And you're like, yeah, I gave you a safe place for you to just be yourself. And I think seeing those moments made all of the craziness of that summer and like the bugs and the and the no air condition and like all the things that we went through during that summer, it made it so worth it.
I like that.
My favorite was working in wine. It was just such a good time, and like I met so many amazing people, and I had an amazing coworker, and like I said, it was like I made a lot of money for not doing a ton of work, honestly. And because we partnered with the chocolate factory where I was working, we did like wine and chocolate pairings. I got to learn so much about chocolate and like what kinds of chocolate are great. And I got to work with the owner, who is so fun. And so that was just such a great job. I made a ton of great connections. And I know in a second, if I reached out and was like, hey, like I need a weekend job, they would happily have me back. So that was definitely my favorite summer job. I think of it fondly. I sometimes miss it.
You used
I
to
don't
be a
miss
member at
working
that
weekend.
winery.
Yes, you used to be a member
I
at my
remember there briefly. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved working there. It was so great, and I have very, very good memories of working there.
Yeah, one of my favorite summers was wine.
It would have been sold at the chocolate. I would have been like,
Chocolate
"All
and
right,
wine, sign me up.
So good, so good.
You just need the cheese, chocolate, wine, and cheese.
Oh my
Mhm.
God, you'd never get
CCW.
rid of me. I'd be there all the time. Yeah. No, mine is definitely this like the summer right after COVID when I was watching Avery and working in wine. That was like my two things. And I was doing school. And then my summer that I worked at that restaurant and I worked at Bar 3. Like those were my two favorite summers of jobs that I did. Just because like I was doing things that I really loved. I was making great money and I was like also doing something that nurtured my brain. Like both of those, the jobs that I was doing enabled me to like do something that was advancing me as well, which I really liked. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Anna. You're going to see her more on the pod, and also hopefully we'll get Ellie and maybe Emma on at some time too. All the girls from Chronically Chill. Don't
The
forget
girls that chill.
the girls that chill.
Yes.
So don't forget to like us on social media for all the latest updates behind the scenes, and you won't want to miss our Instagram at Girls at Excel. We post a lot of really like funny things there. So until
I've been
next-
having some fun.
I've been in the polls.
Emma, have any events that maybe some ladies might want to join in on?
If you're in the Portland area, keep an eye out. I have 2 suggestions. If you're in the Portland area and chronically ill, follow Endometriosis M on Instagram. And she hosts events every once in a while for chronically ill community. They're all accessible. Another one is Portland Girls, Gays, and Theys on Instagram. And they host multiple events, pretty much an event every single week a month that are usually free. So if you're a girl, gay, or they in the Portland area, a girl, gay, or they that excels in the Portland area, follow them on Instagram and you can make friends that way.
I love
Yeah.
it.
All right. Well, until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and keep excelling.
Bye.
Bye.